Oh, it's the radio on the radio, no radio, and today we're back. I know, Candy's had the baby. So, in honor of that, I'm gonna be releasing the documentary video after I finish the relationship progressive chart videos. So today we're talking about progression in a relationship and ways you can tell. So I accumulated about maybe 10 ways that you can tell from just my experience. So I took some experiences from others and I kind of just compiled them into somewhat of a list. So we're going to go over them for the most part. So I want to give a title to each item I'm about to list. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm only good at the relationship that I'm doing right now through trial and error. And a relationship is a give and take consistently and continuously throughout the relationship. You always have to grow together, otherwise you don't go together. You like that, right? Yeah. Anyway, so starting off with number one, I got transparency in a relationship. Now, being transparent in a relationship is showing your inner feelings and trying to, for the most part, you're not going to play no deceptive games. You're not trying to deceive the person you're with in a relationship. I don't have to give you any real examples other than outside of be who you are and don't try to be somebody else so you can be with the person that you're trying to be with. Because the moment you start becoming yourself again, or you stop acting a special way for the person that you're trying to talk to, they can see that you're not being transparent, and that can lead to a breakup or arguments in a relationship. Leads to a lot of downside. The second one I want to talk about is mutual trust. Right? So mutual trust, I want to say, is that as you start to develop more time with each other, you gain a mutual trust. You stop spying on people. You're not worried about who they're going out with, as far as I can trust you with another person. The trust is increased, and this is another way or form that you can see that there's progression in the relationship. All right, for number three, we're going to say making each other laugh, right? You develop the ability to make the other person laugh. This is like really a secret to having a great relationship, because everybody, or I should say, a lot of people want to be next to somebody who can make them smile and make them laugh, especially when they're feeling down. So that's important to keep in mind. For number four, we're going to say when I becomes us. So basically the whole self-centered, it's all about me. In my opinion, when you first start talking to somebody in a relationship, it is about you. You're talking to them for your own intentions. But as you begin to progress in a relationship, it becomes more about about us. It's not just about you. And that's what you start to learn when you become progressive in a relationship, that it's not just about you and how you feel, but it's also how the other person feels. And sometimes more than others, it's more about how the other person feels, according to your actions or behavior or anything that's going down. You just want to be able to focus on the other person as much as you're focusing on yourself. All right, so number five, I'm going to say, is encouraging each other. As you start to progress through a relationship, you become more encouraging to each other. Being able to confide in each other and cheer the other person on like their personal cheerleader. Now, when I say confide, I use the word confide because it usually goes with mutual trust. Nobody wants to confide in somebody that they can't trust. So you see why mutual trust is important. Now, the list I'm giving you, I'm not giving it in any specific order that we should try to adhere to, but it's more so that the list of things that I wrote down that comes first to mind. And for the number six, we're going to say accepting each other's flaws. So this one is self-explanatory. Nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. So if you're not perfect and nobody's perfect, everybody comes with a little flaws. Some people have more flaws than others. Some people have less flaws than others. You really get what you pay for. So when you're talking to somebody, a lot of times, and this can really affect the other stuff. This can affect the mutual trust. This can be affecting, transparency. This can also affect when I becomes us. A lot of times people don't want to open up because they have flaws that they haven't got over themselves, and they don't want to expose the other person to the flaws because they feel like they're going to leave them or something crazy. So a lot of times this is not one of the easiest steps. You have to accept the other person's flaw. The other person, he may not be the most intelligent person. They may not be the greatest looking. They may not dress really good. Maybe they can't dance. Everybody has their own flaws, but in a relationship where you're trying to progress, that's not your focus. Your focus is on, I would say, anything that benefits the relationship overall, like how they make you feel, the overall happiness. So just keep that in mind when you're accepting people's flaws or talking about flaws. All right. For number 7, I think we're on, is you're able to move forward. So being able to move forward in a relationship after something tragic has happened, or after some form of distrust, or whatever you guys, you go through. Like one of my things is able to move forward. If like one of my favorite things is my journal, right? So Candice, she spilled something in my journal, right? And because she spilled something in my journal, I was upset. But I had to let go of the past event that occurred, because that's part of being progressive in a relationship, is that you know what to let go, when to let go something, and you just like don't keep the past in your face. Nobody wants the past to be thrown up in their face consistently. Now, obviously, I just use my journal, but I've had other, in the past, in different relationships, I had a lot of bad things happen where sometimes I wasn't able to move forward. So at that point, I wasn't able to move forward. I had to stop progressing that relationship. That's important, because some people will still progress in relationships and they can't move forward. You're still mad about the person that cheated on you. So, or you're still mad at the person because you think that they show too much attention to others. Whatever the case may be, of the reason why you're mad or they did something wrong, if you can't move past that, you're not going to be able to progress a relationship. I'm not saying there's no definiteness here. I'm just saying that that's always going to be on your mind. All right, so number 8, we're going to say, is attention to detail. Now, as you become more progressive in a relationship, you start to pay more attention to what people like, what they do, how they smell, what they eat, how they sleep, things they talk to you about, just whatever. Like, you can finish their sentence. Attention to detail is observing each other's movements, habits, interests, triggers, dislikes. Now, this is important because if you don't like pay attention to the stuff that they don't like, you can trigger them to become very explosive and angry towards you. In reverse, you can also create a great moment by paying attention to detail of what little things they like. Everybody like tends to lean towards the TV shows and everything, or buy flowers and create the big romantic thing. Maybe that's not what the person wants. Maybe the person just wants you to pay attention to them and have a conversation. It'd be the simple things that people overlook in their lifetime that prevents them from progressing in a relationship. You just gotta look at it. So number 9 is talking about seeing a future together. Now, you're making some real progress in a relationship, and when you're talking about seeing the future with somebody else. I'm talking about having a family, living with each other, how y'all can envision that, talking about similar goals. It's just one of those things that the person's ready to move to the next step of whatever y'all trying to do in your relationship. That speaks progress itself. Like, where can I see us at in the future? When and that overall has let you know that the person is not just thinking about I at that point. If they actually have interest in what you're talking about and who you are, they're thinking about us. And my last thing, it's not actually on my paper. I didn't write it down, but so that's number 10. Number 10, I'm just gonna say, is stay true to yourself. So staying true to yourself is important, because this piggybacks off of transparency a little bit. If you don't stay true to yourself and you just keep quiet in a relationship because you don't want to be lonely, you're not going to progress, because you're going to waste a lot of time. And not staying true to yourself, you're going to go down a different path. It's going to take you a different way. You might have kids out of it by accident. It's just going to be something that could be avoided completely altogether. Don't become a Justin Pox and just tie in with everything in all your situations and just be like clumped together. Don't do that, because it's not going to cause a good life for you. So just to run down the list one more time, give you a little quick review. You want to have number 1, transparency, showing the inner you, no deception. Number 2, mutual trust, stop spying on people. Number 3, making each other laugh, having the ability to smile. It's the secret to a great relationship. Number 4, when I becomes us, it's not about you. Number 5 is encouraging each other. being able to confide in each other and share and motivate. Number 6, accepting each other's flaws. Number 7, able to move forward, leaving the past alone. Number 8 is attention to detail, observing other movements, habits, interests, triggers, likes and dislikes. Number 9, seeing the future together, similar goals, family, living with each other every day. And number 10, just being true to yourself. So that's the radio on the radio. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you everybody for love and support, and everybody who reached out to us. Candice is doing fine, and we'll see you soon.
I'm not afraid. Yeah. It's been a ride. Everybody